We are loading into the game. I have to find our observer from the countless people in here, which basically just means me spamming all of my... 6 for me.
6 for you.
6 for
7
me.
for me. Does that mean you win? I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I think I get a prize. What prize do I get? But it doesn't matter.
You get to do the introductions, Maddles.
Do I?
Congratulations. Who do we have play?
Well, in the top right position, Jorisar, we have the purple Protoss player from Team Millennium, currently 1-0 up in this best of 3 for the WCS EU qualifiers. It's Millennium's Feast. And his opponent, spawning in the lower left, the red Protoss player from Neurosoft, desperate to force Game 3 in the ace match in this very important game. It's Welmu.
All right, so a pretty tense situation here. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are playing to go into the quarterfinals after what started off, need I remind all our viewers, as a round of 1024. It's been a long day worth of StarCraft, and they still have more games to come, but potentially getting into the final 8. Can Feast do it, Maddles?
I hope he can. I like Feast, but then again I like Welmu. Do you know what I really hope? And I know this is the most like cop-out answer ever, but as a caster, when there's 2 really good players in the game, I hope that Welmu wins this so we get a 3rd map forced.
Makes sense. No, definitely. Especially if the games are particularly epic, you want to be able to see the players just do their thing again and again and again, simply because it's actually that much fun to watch. I completely agree with you there. Let's see if they can pull it off, though. It's a very difficult task that Welmu has against him at the moment. It's never nice to be on match point. I know it's only a best of 3, but it's still not nice knowing that you have to win 2 in a row and your opponent only has to win either one, because you get situations where you really try super hard, you're able to win game number 2, and you use so much of your energy that game 3 is like a little bit flat and you just end up losing it quite poorly. Of course, these guys are so good that might not happen, but you always get situations where that happens, and it just feels so frustrating for them.
It can be incredibly frustrating indeed. So the psychological aspect of a best of X series is really important. I don't know if you had the chance to speak to the Team Liquid, sports psychologist at the ESET UK Masters final, but it was incredibly interesting talking to him and saying how actually their esports as a whole is a couple of years behind conventional sports in terms of the support team around the players and what a difference it's making, and that may have been one of the reasons that actually the Team Liquid players did just so well in that event. But back to this game and what's going on here. We've got 1 gas out at the moment for Feast compared to 2 gas with 2 probes mining east. 3 probes now mining in each for Welmu, and of course the mothership core is on its way across the map for Feast, but Welmu, he's busy getting his mothership core out as well.
Yeah, it looks like both sides are going to get them out. Now, bear in mind that because Feast got his out significantly sooner, he'll have more energy on that mothership core, so if he needs to use it defensively, he'll have an earlier photon overcharge. If he wants to use it offensively as well, he might have a second time warp a lot faster than his opponent. And here we go, the mothership core trying to take apart a Stalker right now. And oh, very nice time warp going down on a lot of those probes. Able to pick off a couple of them, actually. But the Zealot going down, the Stalker actually in danger now as well. Needs to be so careful. Whoever picks apart the opposing player's Stalker first has a decent advantage here. And it looks like Welmu, through the defender's advantage, and also because Feast may have overextended a bit, kills off the mothership core. He was behind the mineral line, very difficult for him to get back out there, and Feast falls back. The current supplies are 28 to 24, worker supplies 22 to 18. Feast did kill 8 workers though, and Welmu's going to seriously want to do a lot with this counterattack.
Yeah, this counterattack does have to do some decent damage. Now, Feast is getting up his Stargate, though. He only has currently 1 gateway, so he's got 2 more on the way as well. Needs to pump some units in order to defend against this. His mothership core was taken out, meaning that the energy on Welmu's mothership core will be greater, and therefore you can pump a lot of very powerful spells out of that, especially as a defender. Photon Overcharge we saw in Game 1 really did allow Welmu to hold a couple of the earlier pushes, which admittedly didn't save him the game, but stopped him arguably dying quite so soon.
Yeah, he needs to be a little bit careful here, but those workers he killed earlier on are going to hopefully going to pay off handsomely, provided he can hold this off. Welmu probing around, trying to see at what point might be a good idea to head up. Don't forget there's a sentry there for Feast, so he will be able to force field off the ramp if required.
So, the Mothership Corps for Welmu being pretty brave there, poking up, taking a good little look. We've got the first Phoenix on its way out for Feast, and remember back to Game 1, Jorasar. Feast did incredibly well with his Phoenix. He was so cost-effective throughout that game, mainly because of those. Just 6 Phoenix absolutely tearing apart sentries, probes, everything the Welmu had on the field.
3 gateways and the Stargate popping out here, don't forget, for Feast at the moment, and Welmu is actually about to complete his Twilight Cancel. So, because he has a forward position with a number of Stalkers and a Mothership Core with a lot of energy, I'm tempted to say as soon as that Twilight Cancel goes down, instead of a DT, we're going to see immediate blink come out of him, but we'll find out if that actually is the case in a second. Feast scouting around with a Phoenix, just to check out what's going on exactly, and no, pardon me, I stand corrected, no blink is coming out from one where he is going to be going for the Dark Shrine.
And this is the same thing that happened in Game 1, but Feast identified it very quickly, prematurely force-fielded on his ramp to make sure nothing could come up in there in Game 1 as well. So, this should be very, very interesting to see what goes on. We do have more Phoenix getting pumped out, so Feast doing a very similar mid-game style as we saw in the first game, but Welmu does have his expansion out a lot sooner than that of his opponent, and those DTs, if they're able to get in without detection, could do a lot, and there is no robotics facility yet for the purple Protoss players.
But there's also no probe out on the map to put down another forward pylon. And Welmu is not only supply blocked by taking apart that forward pylon, he's not building another one. So even if the Dark Shrine finishes and it is undetected by these Phoenixes, which is looking slightly unlikely at this point because there are 4 of them in here. Okay, he does chase them away. They're going to have to walk the entire length of the map because there's no pylon out in the middle. And that's a big problem for Welmu right now.
Feast manages to snipe out one of those sentries there, which is obviously a good little thing to grab, very gas heavy, but the DT shrine is nearly finished. But as you quite rightly pointed out, gonna have to walk across the entire map, but Welmu is now placing down a pylon. Could have done with having that slightly earlier though, just to get it out in time. The Phoenix have not yet discovered though, as far as I'm aware, that the Dark Shrine is down. No, they have not. And as such, that just means that ultimately this will come as a bit of a surprise to Feast, but he does have his robotics facility finished now, and as long as he starts an observer quickly, should be okay.
Okay, and here come the Dark Templars out in the middle of the map. They are going to be running around towards the natural expansion and potentially into the main. Note that it looks like one has a scythe and one has a spear, for those who are interested. A couple of force fields going down as well. Oh my goodness! Those force fields are so unbelievably good. The DTs can literally do nothing right now as the observer gets chrono boosted out. A third one going into the main base and a fourth as well. So going to try and maximize the damage output potentially. Let's see if he's able to do a decent amount of damage here. Trying to pick apart the Nexus, but it won't happen. The observer's out now with photon overcharge, and these DTs do not have long for this world.
No, they don't, unfortunately, and they didn't really do much damage either. So far this game, Feast has killed 12 probes compared to 7 that Welmu has managed to take out. So that is pretty much in Feast's advantage. We've also got, though, a big difference in terms of the work count for Welmu. He's up at 40 probes at the moment compared to just 25 for Feast after that DT swipe through 3 more.
Very, very nice there. Oh, and using 2 force fields to ensure that he gets those DTs as well. So the total number of workers killed this game so far, 12 for Feast, 10 for Welmu. Not overwhelming numbers, and Welmu used that DTRS really just to try and get as many probes up as possible. Oh, we see the Phoenix is trying to come in and do some damage, but photon overcharge plus a couple of Stalkers means that it's very difficult for him to do much. Losing a few Phoenix is not a great thing, and Welmu is now 7 probes up. He's 40 to 33 up on Feast right now.
And that, of course, is a pretty substantial income advantage. Specifically in the gas, actually, is where Welmu is really getting a lot more out at the moment. And as a result, Feast taking his 3rd and 4th gas finally, also getting up his robotics base. So we'll be switching his tech into those Colossi. The robotics bay robotics facility rather, only just getting started at the moment for Welmu after committing heavily to those CTs. So yeah, this is now getting into the more mid-game section, but without a doubt, with that good work advantage for quite a long period of time, Welmu is going to be quite happy moving into this mid-game phase.
Feast now going to be moving out across the map. The army supplies are effectively equal. Ooh, supply blocking Welmu as well, and that's going to supply block him for quite a while because he's only just started another pylon too. Frustrating times there for our Red Protoss player. Feast, though, currently supply blocked as well, and he's about to discover that. So both sides may be going into the mid-game slightly nervous. Twilight Council about halfway done for Feast too, and in the meantime, Looks like Welmu at the moment is preparing for yet another wave of aggression.
Yeah, this is a small little push in here. Just a couple of stalkers. They do have Blink, though, which is allowing Welmu to be so aggressive, because even if those force fields go down just as he saw there, he's able to blink back and get away safely, and that is just oh so important. The first Colossus for Feast is in production. The Robotics Bay on its way down for the time being for Welmu.
Huge supply block. Huge supply block for Feast.
But he is getting a... Luckily, though, it came down after the Colossus got started. That's the only plus side. That he can now do that, and with Warp Gate Tech, you can recover from that slightly better. But here we go, we've got Welmu just pushing forward, trying to do some damage there.
Oh wow, we are getting a little bit of lag. Okay. So
hopefully that will clear out.
It looks like the players aren't opting to pause at the moment, though. We'll see if they choose to pause in a little while. In the meantime, we have got Welmu once again poking in and then blinking out against Feast. And Welmu now, for what seems like the first time in a while, taking the supply lead. Currently 109 to 106. He still has a 3-worker advantage, and his second robotics facility is now complete. So he's going to be pumping out Colossi faster than his opponent.
Hopefully it will. We've got the third base on its way down for Welmu here as well. We've also got the second robotic facility coming out for Feast. So this is really now getting into the much later game stages. The supply count, the worker supply is actually really leveling out, 49 to 52. And as we can see here, just both players opting to be quite passive at this phase.
Yeah, they're not really doing too much. They're trying to get up to what would be their ideal Death Ball late game composition. I am a little bit surprised, I confess, to have not seen any attempted Void Ray production coming out of Feast here, because he's had that Stargate for a little while now, and Colossus Void Ray, incredibly potent composition against pretty much everything. So I'm surprised he's not making more use of that Stargate, but then again, he does need to use that gas very carefully when he's got double Colossus popping out as well.
So let's talk a little bit about upgrades. That's currently very similar. +2 just kicked in now, though, for Feast. So a momentary advantage, but Welmu has also got his +2 about to start. Extended Thermal Lance about to level out as well, leaving the only big difference is the fact that Welmu does have Blink, whereas Feast does not. So Welmu has used that quite effectively, but in the later phase of the game, Blink becomes less useful, in my opinion.
I completely agree. Blink, really useful in situations where you can manage the amount of damage done to a Stalker before blinking it back. If the DPS of an army gets so large that basically leaving your Stalkers for like half a second just gets them destroyed, all of a sudden Blink Micro becomes more and more irrelevant because there's just too much damage to have to deal with. You would have to be blinking every quarter of a second or something, and that just doesn't work.
Indeed it doesn't. We do have the Templar Archives coming down for Feast as well, so he's looking to start getting out some of those Archons, which did play actually quite a big role in the first game here. The supply slightly in Welmu's favor. He did get his third base up a lot faster as well, and is currently 11 probes ahead. So that income will help him pump out some good units and really try and enhance upon the supply advantage he's got. He's also warping in some DTs, ready to get those Archons out as well, most likely.
That's a really important point you touch on there, Maddles. At the end of the day, when both players were sitting back and being passive, it felt like Feast was waiting for the next wave of aggression from Welmu, when in fact Welmu just went, well, actually, I think now might be a good time to take my third. And as a result, his third base is significantly sooner than Feast, and that's allowed him to gain a 300 to 400 income advantage going into this stage of the game. And it looks like the armies are considering engaging out here. Very difficult to get a read on exactly what your opponent has as well.
Very far forward pylon, though, there for Welmu. That's going to help him with some quick resupplies. The Colossi count is currently 6 to 5 in Feast's favor. Do not underestimate the difference that makes. An Archon going down, most of the Zealots getting taken out quickly. The Mothership Core for Welmu does get sniped out, and as we can see, the additional Colossi for Feast are really helping here. He's even microing them back, taking out the majority of Welmu's force. Some Zealots trying to charge in. A couple of Colossi go down, though, and suddenly the tide of this battle flicks into Welmu's favor, and he is just pushing forward with a good supply advantage now. It started off so well for Feast, but now he's in tremendous amounts of problems.
Yep, what happened there was GG gets called and Welmu wins, so we are going to be going into a game number 3. What happened there in that engagement?